Yo, what's going on, Snipers, and welcome back to our Arizona Coyotes franchise mode here in NHL 22. So in last episode, we decided it was the best option for us to trade away Filip Zadina. So we traded him away to the Dallas Stars, and we got back a pretty solid top 6 forward prospect that's currently down there in the minors. He was actually playing on the fourth line in Dallas, but he wasn't doing too well, so I decided we would play him in the minors. And so far, he's been pretty good down there. As you can see, he's got 21 points in his first 32 games. Then again, our AHL team is pretty stacked. But yeah, this guy is getting closer to being NHL ready, and he has some pretty good attributes, so I'm very excited to see what this guy could do, probably as early as next season. Now, it's kind of interesting as he is actually drafted by the Calgary Flames, and then he was playing with Dallas just last year, so it looks like he was dealt multiple times already in his career. Hopefully, we do not have to trade him away at some point, because I really would like to get this guy into our lineup maybe next season if we could find a way to slot him into our forward core. But anyways, we are up here now at the trade deadline. We are going to be making another trade, at least in this episode. We'll probably look at other options as well at the actual trade deadline itself. But we are going to be making a trade that I left you guys on at the end of last episode, because as you can see, our team is pretty solid so far, 35, 22, and 4. But if we look, we are on a first wildcard spot at the moment. Obviously, if we were in a different division like the Pacific Division, we would actually be first in the division, which is kind of crazy. But right now, we are not necessarily out of the dark in terms of being in the playoffs or not. And obviously, we want to have a better run than last year and the year before and even the year before that. So hopefully this team could do good once we make a trade. So anyways, before we get into making that trade and then getting into the trade deadline and simulating the rest of the regular season, we do have one comment to go over, and that is from HawksFan88. He says, I think Krimkovic would definitely be a good rental piece considering you're a win now kind of team, which is the guy I was basically looking at. And I asked him what option he liked the best out of the trade options, because there was 3 different options we could go with, and he was thinking number 3 would probably be our best option. So that's more than likely what we are going to be making to pick up Kyle Krimkovic, which I will show you guys what he looks like. The reason why we want to pick up somebody like Kyle Krimkovic is because after getting rid of Zadina, our left wing side is a little bit barren. And obviously a lot of the younger guys aren't as good overall wise as Zadina was. Zadina was like an 87, but we had to shed some cap and get rid of Zadina anyways, and he wasn't doing too well. So that's why we got rid of him. But as you can see, Kyle Krimkovic, 85 at 28. He's only signed for 1 year at 2.8, which is a pretty cheap contract for an 85, I would say. And I don't really know if we'll be able to bring him back in the offseason. It really depends on the cap situation. But right now it looks like he fits all forward lines and maybe our penalty kill lines, which is pretty good. And if we also look at his individual stats, you can see that he's not putting up an insane amount of points, but if you go over to some of his extra stats, you can see this guy's a very good takeaway player. At least this season, he's got 101 takeaways already. So having him on the left side and like guys like Agostino on the left side, both of them would be really good in terms of takeaways, and that could help us out defensively. Maybe it could help us out offensively, all that type of thing. So I think Kerkfig is going to be a pretty good player to add to this roster. I don't really know if he's going to put up the most points, but I think he could definitely help us out. And as you can see, he also only played 7 playoff games and he only had an assist just last season. So hopefully he could do a little bit better with us, considering he's more than likely going to be slotted in on the second line, I would assume. And then we'd probably move like LaRose down to the fourth line, and then scratch probably somebody on that fourth line currently. So, and more than likely after this trade, we'll also have to send Sapolyov down on waivers, which he might end up getting claimed by a team, but I think I'm okay with that considering we do have a lot of guys in the minors that would probably take over his roster spot next season anyways. So let's do Kyle Krimkovic. As you can see, he doesn't have a huge amount of trade value, which is kind of surprising. It could be because of his offensive output, but we are going to be trading for him. Now, the trade offers we were recommended, one of them had like DeMaio. If I'll show you guys here in a second. One had DeMaio, and DeMaio's a 78 at 21. One had Ladipov, he's a 78 at 22. And then the other one I think had like, who was it? It was like Bykov on the forward core. And Bykov's a 78 at 22 as well. I don't know if Bykov's going to make the NHL team. He might end up making it as a fourth liner at some point because he does have actually some decent attributes. I was looking at maybe doing the DeMaio one, but the thing is with DeMaio, he's a better overall, or he's the same overall as Ladipov, but at a younger age. So basically, I'm banking on the fact that DeMaio is going to be a better overall as early as next season. Ladipov looks kind of interesting, though, in terms of his attributes, so I'm kind of hesitant to be moving him. But he might be the best option to move. Like, he has some pretty good shooting categories. He's got really good offensive awareness. He's not a great passer for an OFD, which is kind of weird. So I don't really know if he's going to actually simulate that good or not. Like, he's having a really good year in the minors as well, which is kind of something I don't want to be really, like, fluctuating too much with. So, yeah, I think, like Hawks fan was saying, number 3, which has Ladipov in it. I want to try and see if we can make up our own deal first before getting rid of Ladipov, just because I feel like with all those attributes that he could end up being a somewhat good NHLer, but I don't really know if he'll get into our defensive core or not. So maybe we actually want to just move him instead. Because if we look at our unsigned guys at the moment, like if we go skaters matching block, they are interested in a couple unsigned guys as well, like Appleby, but Appleby's going to be a few years out. Popovic, who's probably a few years out as well. And then pretty much everybody else is signed. So, yeah, there's not really much in terms of prospects that they really like. So I guess we should probably move on from Ladipov because the other guys don't really have as much value. Like, we could get rid of Appleby, but Appleby was, I think, a higher up pick, and we probably need more forward prospects than defensive prospects at the moment. So yeah, I think we'll probably end up moving Ladipov, which I still think is a little bit questionable because of those attributes. Like, DeMaio looks a lot worse in a sense, but at the same time, DeMaio, I don't know. I think DeMaio might be the better option to keep just because he's younger in the same overall. Like, if he gets a little bit of growth this season or something like that, he could be a better overall at the same age as Ladipov is now. So I think that his ceiling is a little bit higher for DeMaio. So we are going to put Ladipov into this trade. And they wanted a second and a seventh for next year in this deal. I'm going to see if there's a way to not do that second round pick, because that seems like a lot to give up. But let's try. Actually, no, I might have to. We don't actually have a lot of picks for next year, which is interesting, but we got a lot of picks for this year. So we will give them a second, I guess, that they want. And I'm going to try and get away with not giving them that seventh rounder, because that's more than enough value going to them. So Ladipov in a second for Kyle Krimkovic. Would this go through? Yep, it does. Okay, so apparently we don't have to give up the 7th anymore. But we are going to have to make some roster adjustments, so let's just go okay. And Kyle Krimkovic has been joined to this team. Sucks to get rid of Ladipov, like I said, because he looks like he could be a decent OFD in the NHL. But at the same time, I feel like guys like Dallas Guerrero, who's in the minors, and in DeMaio have a higher ceiling and might end up making our NHL team next year instead of him. So I think it kind of makes sense for us to do that. And like I said, we are going to be putting Sopolyov on waivers. More than likely, Shishkinov's going to get scratched, which I really don't like. But he is the worst overall of that fourth line. It's either him or Gallagher. And yeah, like we are going to send down Sopolyov to the AHL, which means he is going to go on waivers. So there's like a really realistic shot he could end up getting claimed by a team, but I think I'm okay with that, like I said, because of the fact we got guys like Anisimov in the AHL we could call up if we really need depth and stuff like that. So let's see if he gets claimed. And he does not get claimed, which is a really big surprise considering he's a 79. You think a team would want him for their fourth line or something like that, but apparently not. So I could slot him into our forward core potentially. Howe's not growing anymore, so you know what, we're going to take out Howe, even though he's probably having a good AHL year. Give Sopolyov some first-line time, and that should help out Redmond a lot, because Redmond's getting a legitimate center with him. But it does suck to get rid of Ladipov, considering now that defensive core is probably not going to look as good. Ooh, DeMaio and Ortmeyer will have a +5 chemistry. That's pretty nice. Yeah, we'll move Rapid up, because why not? He has medium elite potential. I hope he could reach that. Kerkfig got sent down to the minors. What the heck? I didn't even realize that. Huh. I gotta call him up after I put in a defenseman here. Oh, actually, never mind. I guess I need to just go here. Why did he get sent down to the minors? Wasn't he in the NHL? That's weird. Oh, well. That is kind of weird that he got sent down. Oh, it moved up our lines again. So let's go back to this. And we need to put in a depth defenseman, which we have a couple. I guess we will go with... Sylvester, maybe? Yeah, let's just go with Sylvester. Oh, never mind. Wait. Is that the actual chemistry, or is that just a glitch? Okay, that is the chemistry. Let's try Mikko Ruutu instead, see if that helps. And apparently not either. I guess we'll go something like that. Yeah, I guess we'll go something like that. Why not? And then extra attackers, we need to go on here and throw in that centerman in Sopolyov. And then the AHL is nice and set up. And then NHL-wise... Wait, what do you mean by too many skaters? Oh, somebody should not be dressed. I don't know what the heck is going on with this roster. Who is extra player that's dressed? I don't really know. Let's just go best lines for a second in the AHL. And get Rabbit back in. And we also, I think that's pretty much it. And Silverberg as well. But I don't really know what the heck the game was meaning by these errors. So we're going to take Redmond to the top line. Move out Semenov. Actually, oh, it might have been Howe that was the extra guy. Yeah, it probably was. But sometimes it's kind of hard to tell who should be scratched and who shouldn't be. So that's good there. Actually, I was going to take out Howe right though. We got to put in this Bailey guy because he has potential. I want to get some other guys into the lineup down there in the minors. Ortmeyer and DeMaio need to play together. Yeah, we'll do that. And that is good, I think, for the AHL defensive core. Actually, wait, who's scratched on defense? Oh, it's Rabbit. Yeah, I need to get Rabbit back in there instead of Sylvester. And that should be good right there. Perfect. Okay, so that AHL team is back and ready to go. And NHL-wise, we need to get our lineup set up. Sorry about this. This might take a little bit. And then we'll get into simulating more of the season. And like I said, the trade deadline, I'll take a look and see if there's anything interesting. But we are going to put Kyle Krimkovic to that second line if he fits there the best, which is the best fit on the third line, which is kind of interesting. So we could try Lawrence on the second line instead, or keep LaRose up there. No, I think I'm going to try Lawrence on that second line instead of Krimkovic, but Krimkovic probably will climb up in the lineup because he's a better fit on that third line. So we'll try that. Does he get power play time? Yeah, he's going to get power play time instead of Gallagher, I think. Yeah, we're going to move Sadikov to the point. Gallagher's going to get taken out because he hasn't been really producing since being put in the lineup. And let's put Krimkovic on to this forward core here. Yeah, that works. And I think we'll also throw him in there because I just want to get him as much ice time as possible to see if he helps out this team's offense. But yeah, the chemistry is still not great on that 4-man power play, but it is what it is. So there you go. There's our updated forward core. So now Lawrence is jumping to that second line to give it a little bit of chemistry. So hopefully Shelley can start scoring. And then Krimkovic jumps to that third line. I could give him second line time if for some reason Lawrence doesn't do well there. But I think our team looks pretty good. This might be the deepest forward core we've had in a while, even though we did get rid of Zadina. But yeah, I think our team looks pretty good. And then depth also looks good. It sucks to scratch Shishkinov because he has low elite potential, but it is what it is. And then Schulz is also there. Okay, perfect. We are ready to advance to the actual trade deadline itself just to see if there's anything else out there. And more than likely, we won't make any more trades, but we would just want to see what's out there in case. Or see if we get through any offers that are intriguing. Let's go in as a buyer and see if there's any interesting offers we get thrown at us. If there's not, we will just advance. Looks like some pretty solid players still on the block, but like nothing we could really use because there's like nowhere where we could really upgrade in terms of our team because we got good goaltending, we got good defense, and all that. Like honestly, if we wanted to, we could send down Guinea to the minors and call up Guerrero as a depth defenseman, but I don't want to stunt Guerrero's growth for now, and I want that HL team to do as good as possible. So right now wise, I don't know if we're going to be making any trades unless we get any offers thrown at us in the next little bit. There's already been a trade between Colorado and Boston. Interesting. Krimkovic getting involved in some prospect. Holmstrom's been taken off the market, and same with B.O. Gruel. Yeah, I don't think we're going to be making any trades, like, because I think our team is doing pretty decent. Some of the players really stepped up once we brought in that new coach in last episode. Like, more importantly, the best one to step up was Chickern and Dobson. Both of them were like a plus 11 over that span, so they really stepped it up. Chickern also put up a lot of points with the new coach. But hopefully we can get other guys going as well a little bit. But yeah, I'm excited to see what Krimkovic could do with this team. Hopefully he could put up a decent amount of goals or just help us out defensively because he does have that good takeaway statistics, it seems like. So, looks like we're not getting any offers thrown at us here early, so I am just going to quit from this trade deadline and not make any more trades, because I was just waiting to see if an AI team would throw us something, because maybe there would be an offer that would be intriguing to us, but for now, I honestly don't think our team needed to make any anyways, because we do got guys in the minors that could come up if need be, just like the last few seasons, but hopefully we can make it past round 1 this year if we make it to the playoffs. So let's simulate the rest of the season and see how we finish off this year and how Kyle Krimkovic does with this new team. Hopefully he does pretty good. Let's go up until March the 24th and see if we can get some more wins. There's a 3-2 win and a shootout loss. Another win, another win. Looks pretty good. Farinacci apparently was injured only day-to-day, which is okay, I guess. But we are on a winning streak since acquiring Krimkovic, and of course, after I say that, we lose 2 games in a row. It always seems to happen when I mention we winning games in a row. We're 41-25-5, which is pretty good. We are still in a wild card spot, which is kind of a surprise, only by 9 points in our own division. But in terms of the other division, yeah, the Edmonton Oilers are way out of it, so we don't have to actually worry about them. We only have to worry about the Preds pretty much, but the Oilers are like literally 16 points back of us, so we don't have to worry about them. We just got to worry about our own division pretty much. But I don't think the Preds will catch us unless we go on a giant losing streak. But yeah, our division is pretty damn tight for the most part in terms of who's in the playoffs and who isn't. Vegas has fired their head coach. Interesting. And Penner is back for the AHL. Hopefully that AHL team makes the Calder Cup finals, because I feel like they're almost too good that the fact that they're probably going to get swept in round 1. But I want Redmond to get as much time as down there as possible, and hopefully he could do good enough for them down there. We're now 41-26-7. We lost a couple more games in a row. Of course, we're now losing. We're still in the wild card spot, only by 5 points, but we have 2 games in hand. Yikes, that's kind of crazy. Yeah, the Preds are kind of scaring me a little bit in the fact that we've lost a couple games in a row. I'm going to go back to edit lines for a quick bit. How has Krimkovic been since being put on that third line? 3 points in 13 games. Yikes, I don't like that. I'm going to move him up to the second line just to get him a little bit more ice time and see if that helps him out. Obviously, that gets rid of the chemistry, but we want to see if he can get going. That should be fine, the rest of that. Okay, let's continue to simulate. But we should be able to make the playoffs unless we continue to lose games here. Which, if we continue to lose games here, that would not be good. So let's go another 4 games. Can we get some wins, please? There's another loss. And a win, okay. And another win, another win. There you go. And we have clinched a playoff spot, which is good. So we had a little bit of a scare there with all those losses in a row, but we managed to clinch a playoff spot with a nice 3-win streak. Let's get the rest of the season done and see how we finish off in terms of wins. There's a 1-0 loss, there's a 6-3 win, a 3-1 win, and a 6-5 shootout win as we finished 47-28-7. So actually a pretty good season for changing coaches and stuff like that, like early in the season. So 101 points and not even, well, in a wild card spot, I think, right? Yeah, in a wild card spot. That's kind of nuts. But our division is pretty damn good. The Preds missed with 90 points, and the Blues were down there with 85, which if the Blues were in the Pacific Division, they'd just be outside of the playoff spot. Interesting. Let's take a look at our team stats and player stats for the season, as well as around the league, and then we'll see who we're going up against in round 1. So entire league-wise, we finished 8th best in the entire NHL, which is pretty good. Detroit finished number 1, so they're going back to their old-time schooling where they were the best team in the league for a long time. Goals for per game. Looks like our offense kind of struggled a little bit. Yeah, I think it did, unless we're around mid-table, which is the case, but maybe a little bit below mid-table. 3.07, so our offense could definitely be a little bit better, but it is what it is. Goals against per game wise, though, we were tied for the 3rd best defensive team in the NHL with the New York Rangers and the Toronto Maple Leafs. Detroit was better, which is not a surprise considering they won the President's Trophy, and Pittsburgh was the best defensive team, and they were by quite far the best defensive team. Power play percentage, our power play was actually pretty good, so it looks like we weren't scoring 5-on-5, 21.4%. And our penalty kill was solid as well, but not great, 83.9, which is down here just below mid-table, I think, or maybe around mid-table, or above mid-table. Yeah, somewhere around there. 5 shorthanded goals, 24, 14, and 3 on home ice, and 23, 14, and 4 on the road. So almost identical records on the road and on home ice, which is kind of funny. 6, 3, and 1 in our last 10 games. Not too bad. So it looks like we just need our offense to get going 5-on-5, and then pretty much everything on this team is doing okay at least. Let's take a look at our player stats for the season. So starting off with our centers, I'm not really impressed with the centers. It could be because of the amount of injuries we had this year, but Hayton, 52 points in 76 games to lead the center core is not great considering he was a first-line center, had first-line power play time, I think, as well. So, yeah, this might be Hayton's last year here. Like some of you guys were saying that Hayton's not really a first-line center, so we might replace him in the offseason if we can't afford him. Farinacci, 47 points, is not great considering the fact we're still paying him over $8 million. So, hopefully we could get Farinacci going again. If not, we might have to trade him away at some point because that's not really that great for a second-line center. I mean, 29 goals is good, but 18 assists, he really didn't pick up much. And then Connor Geekie started the season off pretty good because he was on the power play, but then since getting taken off the power play, he kind of struggled a bit. But 38 points from him on that third line. He might be into our top 6 next season, to be honest. I don't really know. Maybe that will help him score more points. Left wing wise, Agostino, 78 points in 80 games. So he was point per game at the start of this episode, but he kind of slowed down a little bit. But he still is definitely our best player in this series, I would say. 488 points now in his career and a plus 90. Hopefully he can do some good stuff in the playoffs for us this year. Genther, 53 points. Not too bad from him. This is the last year of his contract as well, so we got to think if we want to bring him back or not. The funny thing is he actually has good chemistry with Kyle Krimkovic. Both of them are in the WHL, so I don't know if that's why or not. But yeah, I don't know if Genther comes back or not. He's a really good fit for our top line, apparently. So, Kyle Krimkovic, how much points do you have with us? 9 points in 21 games. Only 1 power play point, so he's not really doing that much offensively for us, but he does give us a little bit of an offensive boost. And he had a lot of takeaways, so maybe he's just going to help us out defensively more than we think. But yeah, hopefully he can do some stuff in the playoffs because that's not really that great. He probably was getting less ice time with us though, right? Yeah, he was getting 2 minutes less of ice time with us than he was in Philadelphia, so... Not what I was expecting when I gave up Ladipov, but it is what it is. Leroux is 40 points, not too bad from him considering he was on the second line and the fourth line. Lawrence, 35 points, not too bad. McGill's 20 points. Shishkinov had 17 before we scratched him. I don't know if we'll play him again in the playoffs or whatnot. Depends if we want to make some changes to our lineup. And Schultz had 1 goal in 4 games. I don't know if Schultz is going to come back to this team because he's just been used as a depth option the last year. So, right wing wise, Shelley really stepped up near the end of the season, but still he's not simulating that great anymore. And I really don't know why. 43 points in 80 games, 19 goals. So he ended up outscoring Sadikov, which is kind of surprising considering his start where he only had like 2 goals. But yeah, his offensive output all of a sudden is just really dropping off. Going from 47 to 28 to 19. Like he's almost playing like Bob Kudelski, who had 40 goals one year and then just fell off the face of the earth. Like he's getting more ice time too, which I don't really understand why he's not scoring. So we might have to still look for a better coach in the offseason that works well with Shelley, or else he might be one of these guys that's getting overpaid completely because of the fact he's not scoring much anymore. Because we pay him to score goals and he's not really doing that. He is still listed as a third line scoring forward, so his growth is probably all morale based. Or all, statistical based. Sadikov, 33 points, 17 goals, -6. Hopefully Sadikov could also step up considering he's kind of in the same boat as Shelley where his goal scoring has really dropped off. And then Gallagher, 14 points in 54 games, not too bad before we... just in 54 games. Because we played him the rest of the season, not too bad. Defensively, Soderstrom, 60 points this year from Soderstrom. This is the last year of his contract as well, so hopefully we could bring him back at a really decent deal. But if we can't, that will really suck. But he's been really good with us. He's not really a great fit for that first pairing anymore. But he is a good second pairing guy. I would like to keep him around as long as we can. But I really don't know how much he's going to ask for this offseason. Chigurh, 48 points, pretty solid. Sasaki, 20 points. As a DFD, that's not too bad. and only a -1. Really solid rookie season from Sasaki. I really like that. Let's take a look at his other stats just for fun. 105 hits, 94 block shots, 93 giveaways, 25 takeaways, and he had 4 fights in his rookie season. Man, this guy is definitely a good old school defenseman. 105 hits and 94 blocks, so over a block and over a hit a game. You'll love to see that, and still picked up 20 points, which is pretty impressive. And most of his penalty minutes were fight-oriented, I think, because if he had 4 fights, he had 20 minutes that were just all from fights, which means the other 24 penalty minutes were just from regular stick infractions. Dobson, 19 points plus 6. Heinola, 16 points minus 9. I'm not really impressed with Heinola. He probably won't come back considering we have guys in the minors. But him and Sasaki weren't the greatest defensive pairing, it seems like, 5-on-5. Tukinen, 14 points and a plus 10. I'll definitely take that. And then 1 goal in 1 game from Ginning as a depth defenseman. Goalie-wise, Pettersson was really good this year. 34, 21, and 7, 3 shutouts, and 9-12 and a 2.71. That's pretty good. Hopefully he plays good in the playoffs. And then our backup in Hunter Jones was pretty solid as well. 13 and 7 with a 9.12 and a 2.78. So not too bad from the goaltending. Let's take a quick look at the entire league for fun just to see who led the league in points. So if we go by forwards, the best forward this season was Sebastian Aho with 120 points. McKinnon was also up there, Svechnikov, Teravainen, so damn, Carolina had the best top line in the league with all of them almost having 110 plus points, which is kind of nuts. Then there's also McDavid, Estrada, etc. Best goal scorer this season was Daniel Gauthier-Leduc in New York with 53, him and Kirk Estrada in Nashville. Eichel was also up there, and McKinnon with 51. Best defenseman in points this year was Quinn Hughes with 72, but he was badly minus. Same with Manny Pietrangelo, so it might end up going to Makar considering he's a better plus-minus, or it might go to Boquist, who was a plus 50 in Pittsburgh. So, yeah, it might go to Boquist and Norris. But Soderstrom was up there, which is pretty neat. Best goalie this year for wins was Donaghy with 43. Not a surprise considering Detroit won the Presidents. Most shutouts this season by a goalie was Lacroix in Colorado. Best save percentage by a starter was Genoway with a 917. And best goals against average by a starter was Genoway as well. So more than likely Genoway is going to win the Vezina for Toronto. I think he won last year if I'm not mistaken. Best rookie this year for points was Felipe Avery of the Detroit Red Wings, who was over point per game. 89 points in 82 games. Damn, that's pretty insane. And Pavel Ladipov actually got a chance to play with the Philadelphia Flyers right away, and he dropped down to a 77 because of it. Played 2 games, had 1 shot on goal, and no points. But he didn't really have much ice time. But they did try and use him, which is interesting in the NHL. They actually scratched him in the NHL. Are you stupid, Philadelphia? You should play him in, like, the AHL. What the hell is this? Wow, I'm kind of mad about that. I don't know. Imagine just trading a good defenseman there, and then they decide just to use him as a depth defender instead of an AHL defenseman for now. Oh, that's kind of weird. Who was the best AHLer in terms of points for fun? Jackson Hood with 84. Not too bad. Okay, so that was the player stats and the team stats. Now we got to take a look at who we're going up against in round 1, and then that'll be it for this episode. More than likely, the next few episodes, if we have multiple playoff rounds, will be pre-recorded, because once again, I like the pre-record playoff episodes. So we are going to be taking on the Anaheim Ducks in round 1. They had a similar record to us, 47, 31, and 4, but this is the first time we've ever played them in the playoffs, so this should be interesting. We finished 47, 28, and 7. Before we take a look at the roster, let's just do a comparison from the regular season in terms of how we played. Let's just go Western Conference so it'd be a little bit easier. So they finished a little bit below us in points, but they end up getting a home ice advantage. Did it say or no? Yeah, I think they had home ice advantage because they were higher up in their division. They actually won their division. Wow, they won their division, but they had less points than us, so they get home ice advantage, I think. They had more goals for per game than us. 3.17 to 3.07. We had a better defense by a little bit. Power play wise, we were a little bit better. And in penalty kill wise, they were a little bit better. So they're a better defensive team. We're a better offensive team, it seems like. They also had 9 shorthanded goals. Very solid home record. And their away record was a little bit closer to 500. And going into the playoffs, they're 4-6-0, which is not great that they're losing games going into the playoffs, because that means they might be able to beat us, I think. But I don't know. Let's take a look at what their roster looks like, as the first two teams in the alphabetical order are going to face each other, which should be interesting. So, Anaheim has Johnny Gaudreau, who's dropped down to an 81. He's 36 years of age now, probably close to retirement. They also have Trevor Zegras still, who's killing it, 91 and 29 years of age. Years of age. I was going to say 29 overall almost. Kevin Fiala, 85, pretty good at 33. They have Jack Hughes, which of course you guys mentioned to trade for Jack Hughes years ago, and now he's in Anaheim. Interesting. He's still not much of a point producer. He's scoring like 50 to 60 points. He's bounced around quite a bit since leaving New Jersey. And then also Mason McTavish, 89. And Brian Marleau. Damn, that top six is really nasty. Hughes and McTavish and Zegras alone is really good, but then you add Fiala and Gaudreau and Marleau. Yeah, that's a really good top six. Third line has Drieger, Appleton, and Garland. That's a really good third line as well. And a fourth line of Pearson, Dellandrea, and Dale Danner, which is a kind of a cool name. So yeah, that forward core is really good. I can see why they were... well, actually, we were better offensively. That's kind of weird. Their forward core is really good, though. I'll give it to them on that. What about their defense? Defense is pretty good as well. They have Lindgren and Drysdale, which is a pretty good pairing. Myers and Fabro, and in the top six of Korzak and Larson. So a very veteran-heavy defensive core, but it is a pretty solid one. Lindgren's a really good DFD in real life, I'm pretty sure. So, yeah, that's a pretty good defensive pairing. Goalie-wise, they have Hugo Olynyfeld. Are you kidding me? Hugo Olynyfeld, our former goaltender, of course. We have to run into Olynyfeld. He was the goalie that took us to the Stanley Cup Finals a few years ago. And obviously, he kind of dropped the ball the year after that, and we got rid of him because we had goalies in the system coming up. But, yeah, he played in Vancouver for 2 years, didn't make the playoffs with them. This is his first playoffs since he played with us. This season, he was pretty good in Anaheim. But, yeah, that's kind of scary that we're playing a former player, because I always hate when that happens. Jeez, his contract is nuts, though. 4 years at $6 million. That's a little bit of an overpay, I would say. And then their backup is Kevin Lankinen. Depth-wise, they have Nicholas Camano and Marcus Nudivara. So overall-wise, I do not know who's better. Let me actually take a look at the overall comparison, and then that'll be it for this episode. Just because I'm kind of curious on who has better offense, defense, and all that stuff. So, at the moment, let's see, we have better defense and better goaltending, even though they simulated better defensively than us in the regular season. They have better offense. We have a 91 on offense. They have a 93. Okay, so it's going to be probably a pretty close matchup. I guess we just need to contain their offense, and we need to play good defensively if we want to win this series, which kind of makes sense. So anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of our Arizona Coyotes franchise mode. So in next episode, we will take it to round 1 against the Anaheim Ducks, as we look to have a better season than the last few years. So let me know what you guys think down below, and I'll see you guys next time.